I'm Connor Old, and welcome back to another episode of Old's Oscar Countdown. As a matter of fact, it's a special episode of Old's Oscar Countdown because this entire episode not coming out on a Monday like I do every single week, but it's a special predictions video for the 2020 Golden Globes. I give my nominations predictions and I give my nominations reactions. Now we're finally going to talk about the Golden Globes once again for my final 2020 predictions. I will eventually, on the Monday episode, be giving you my 2020 Golden Globe reactions. Not my live reaction, just sort of my initial thoughts, and then I'm also going to be doing next week my PGA and DGA nominations predictions before those come out on the 7th, when the BAFTAs come out, and I'll be doing reactions to all three of those before finally on the 11th giving my final Oscar nominations predictions. So there's so much to talk about. There's so many great videos coming soon, so subscribe to the channel so you never miss the up-to-date craziness of the award season, which is happening right now. But my 2020 Golden Globe predictions, the Golden Globes always like to go a different way. This is maybe even harder to predict than the Oscars because there's a small voting group of body and you never know necessarily where they're going to go. But I hope this video helps you and convinces you into terms of your certain picks and maybe gives a little bit of argument as to why I'm picking certain things, and then hopefully give you the right information to make the ultimate choice. So for Best Film Drama, I'm going to go with Joker. This is a category that I still think is up in the air. I think this could very well maybe determine the Oscar race. You know, if The Irishman wins here, that will show a great strength and confidence for that in terms of how people respond to the movie. Not that, you know, we have to note that the HFPA, which is the voting body that votes on the Golden Globes, is different than the Academy, which is a group of about 3,000, versus the HFPA is a group of about 90. So yeah, there is, you know, a difference between the two voting groups, but I still think in terms of how the general public or how the sort of industry awards are sort of responding to these movies, it will tell us a lot. But I'm going with Joker because oftentimes, like I said in my nominations video, the winner of this category correlates and ties with an acting win. So if I went for something like The Irishman, I think I would have to think that maybe Martin Scorsese is going to win for Best Director, or that Al Pacino, for example, is going to win for Best Supporting Actor. I don't. So I think The Irishman has a really hard chance for it to maybe, if it doesn't win Director, if it doesn't win Screenplay, it's just going to win Best Picture or Best Film Drama, excuse me. That does make a lot of sense. So for me, then it was like, is it 1917? Maybe, but it doesn't have that acting support. Marriage Story very well could, because if someone like an Adam Driver or Laura Dern win this category, I think Marriage Story can very much easily win, but missed out on Director. And what that final slot did go to Director for Todd Phillips for Joker. So I think this is a movie that, with the support of a Joaquin Phoenix acting win, with the support of a Director nomination for this movie, I think this movie will win. And I think that, you know, if The Irishman wins, that will tell us a lot about it. But I think The Joker is the kind of movie that, similar to Bohemian Rhapsody, which won last year, it's that similar movie where I don't care what critics say about it. I think it's great. I think it's interesting. I think personally, I think it's a smart movie. It sort of makes you feel smart in a lot of ways, and clever in how you sort of pick up things, and in interesting ways how it sort of manipulates the film format. And I think that that sort of underdog mentality that helped Bohemian Rhapsody win last year is the same underdog mentality that will help Joker surprise and win this year. Then for my nominee for Best Film Drama Actor, I'm going to go with Joaquin Phoenix. Now, Adam Driver is definitely a potential spoiler here. He could win and the Marriage Story could sort of sweep away the night. That's a very clear possibility, so I wouldn't sort of disrespect anybody that puts them in his nomination. But for me, I go with Joaquin Phoenix because I think it's just a little bit more of a showy performance. I mean, yes, Adam Driver is yelling and screaming and crying and going through all these emotions, but Joaquin Phoenix, there's sort of an element of mystery to him because he's an actor who has won before for Walking Line at the Globes. He's an actor who, now that we're doing these sort of Best of the Year or Best of the Decade lists, we often see movies like The Master or Her, two great Joaquin Phoenix performances sort of come up. So he has that conversation. The Joker made $1 billion at the box office. The sort of role Heath Ledger of a Joker was sort of mysterious in the way that, did that lead to his death? I mean, even though that's not true, there's sort of an air of mysteriousness around this character of Joker, the way you have to sort of, the places you have to go to be him, the weight he lost. I mean, it is a transformative performance in every sense of the word. I think they're going to like Joker, and I think Joaquin Phoenix gets that win and really helps it propel into the win, but it's not a slam dunk for Joker just yet. So I believe in Joker, but it could walk away empty-handed very easily. Then my prediction for Best Film Drama Actress, I'm going to go with Rene Zellweger for Judy. And to me, this sort of determines the race and determines whether her momentum will carry her through, because if she doesn't win here, I think she's going to have a hard time for the Oscars, because I think someone like a Scarlett Johansson could win for SAG. Now, this is Rene is someone who this performance and her sort of personality and everything is almost the ultimate Golden Globes actor in a lot of ways, because she's very charming, she can work a room, she's sort of great at campaigning in that sense, even though Judy hasn't been sort of out and out and really on the ground the way many of us thought it would. She still sings, she still plays a real life person. You know, it's about a woman in her older age who's trying to sort of come back. Rene, in a lot of ways, is having a comeback story, similar to Judy was in the movie. There's so many different parallels. I think this is the ultimate sort of Golden Globes performance. I mean, she even sings. You know, they like their comedies and their musicals as well. So this is someone who should win, but you know, she still has to sort of go against a lot of things because she is the sole nominee from her movie. So someone like a Scarlett Johansson, if they really love Marriage Story, would push her over the edge. And you know, who knows, maybe Marriage Story may get 3 acting nominations but no acting wins. That would be a little bit surprising, but very well could happen. And as right now, I think Rene, this is sort of her award to lose because the performance is so Golden Globes-like, but we're not sure how much they like the movie since she was the sole nomination, and how much she's been campaigning, and how much she's been talking to the voters, but ultimately I think Rene wins here. Now jumping over to the Best Film Comedy Musical side. So for Best Film Comedy Musical, I'm going to go with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Don't overthink this. It's the only movie in this category that has a Best Director and a Best Screenplay and nominee. You know, I thought Jojo Rabbit could win if they really love that movie, but it missed out on Director and missed out on Screenplay, which was really crucial. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood has, you know, 2 acting nominations, has the directing support, has the screenplay support all around. This should be an easy win for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood this night for Best Film Comedy Musical. And then in terms of Best Film Comedy Musical Actor, I'm going with a bit of an upset. I'm going to go with Eddie Murphy here. Now, there could be a scenario where Leonardo DiCaprio is most likely to get in for the Oscars. They just want to sort of award him. But it seems like, 4 years ago with The Revenant, that was sort of his time, and that was his sort of predetermined way that, yes, he's going to win the race. That is the end of it. Similar to something like a Gary Oldman for Darkest Hour. It was almost sort of determined in September that Gary Oldman would win, and similar with September, it was determined that Leo was going to win for The Revenant, and it sort of just went on. This year, he's probably not going to win for this category. He may get the nomination, but there's maybe not a lot of support for him because he's really in a co-lead with Brad Pitt, but yet he's in the lead category. Now he's playing an actor, which will help him, but I think Eddie Murphy actually sort of checks more boxes because he's also playing an actor, he's playing a filmmaker. Eddie Murphy hasn't been nominated in a while, and this is his sort of comeback movie. He just hosted SNL. He's an actor who, when he walks in the room, because he has been around in such a while, there's an air of elitism or sort of a specialness to it because he was very, of course, prevalent in the 80s and the 90s when people loved him for his comedy. And then he sort of disappeared later on. You know, he had a little bit of a run in the 2000s with something like a Dreamgirls, but he hasn't been around in a while. So when he comes back into these parties, they want Eddie Murphy there because he's even more special than someone like a Leonardo DiCaprio. Now, there could be a scenario where someone like a Taron Egerton, who has been campaigning hard, sort of gets in here. But I think Eddie Murphy almost doesn't have to campaign as hard, even though he has been campaigning, because he's Eddie Murphy, because they know, they already respect him without him even coming into the room. I think even though Dolemite is named, it does worry me that it didn't do so well at the nominations process in terms of getting in for, you know, some other nominations, but I still think Eddie Murphy and his power being Eddie Murphy will push him over the edge. But this one can very much go in a bunch of different ways. I'm not too sure, but still think going with upset and going with Eddie Murphy. Now for Best Film Comedy Musical Actress, you know, this one I was actually going back and forth a little bit, but I'm playing it a little bit safe and going with the obvious choice, going with Awkwafina for The Farewell. These, and my sort of second pick would be Ana de Armas for Knives Out, and they have a lot of parallels in a lot of ways because Awkwafina and Ana de Armas are sort of both rising actresses. Ana de Armas is going to be the next Bond girl in April with No Time to Die, the next James Bond movie. She's also going to be playing Marilyn Monroe next year. However, Awkwafina is going to be in the next Marvel movie. She's also going to be in The Little Mermaid. So she's another sort of rising actress, maybe less so lead and a little bit more so comedic supporting, but still has really sort of entered Hollywood. And then, of course, she also has the back catalog that Ana de Armas has, where Ana de Armas has, of course, Knives Out and Blade Runner. Awkwafina has Ocean's 8 and Crazy Rich Asians, another film that the Globes like. So seeing her performance in Crazy Rich Asians and then seeing Awkwafina's performance here, which is much more quiet, much more toned down, I think that will really help her case. I also think, you know, the SAG miss of a nomination hurts her, but I don't think there was enough momentum for Ana de Armas to sort of carry herself in terms of getting that nomination because of voting. The voting wasn't now. The voting happened a couple days ago. So I think that the Awkwafina, the assumption that she was going to get a nomination at the Oscars, the assumption that the film is well liked and sort of indie hit of the summer, well, has been sort of losing steam. I still think she's possibly the only potential Oscar candidate here, and I think they'll sort of automatically go with that to just go with Awkwafina, also another rising star, also very charming in the room as well. So I think just don't overthink this one. I think it's probably mostly going to be Awkwafina for The Farewell. Then jumping over to the supporting actress races, just note that this is the supporting actor races. They don't divide between best film drama and best comedy musical. So it's just the best supporting actor, the best supporting actress. The best supporting actress, another race that's up in the air. I keep on saying this every time, but it really is, because it's Laura Dern or Jennifer Lopez. Now, I think the consensus maybe be Jennifer Lopez. I'm personally going to go with Laura Dern. She's someone who has been nominated 8 times and has won 3 times. She's the only person in this category to have a film that is nominated for best film drama. She's also, really loved in the TV side with Big Little Lies, and she even won Miss Golden Globe back in the 80s. She's sort of Hollywood royalty in a lot of ways, and I think the Globes especially really love her. Now, I would be a little bit more confident going with J-Lo if J-Lo was someone who, had another nomination, but if I'm thinking about the acting wins, if you think Rene Zellweger is going to win, and Eddie Murphy's going to win, and Jennifer Lopez is going to win, well, those are 3 great performances, yes, but oftentimes you have to think that, if they nominated Once Upon a Time in Hollywood a lot of times, they really like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. So they may go with Leo. Similar, I'm not going with Leo there, I'm going with Eddie, but I am going with Laura Dern here because I think they've nominated Marriage Story a bunch of times. They had 3 acting nominations here. There's a very high likelihood that it's going to possibly win in acting. It very well could win Best Film Drama. So I think that Laura Dern, she's very well liked within the Globes. We know that. She's been won 3 times before. 4 times if you're including Miss Golden Globe, which isn't really an award show. But she's still someone who has liked a movie that is liked in a category where all the other movies aren't as well liked. She doesn't give sort of a standout performance, but she has a couple of good speeches. I think that will propel her over the edge for that performance and for the win. And then Best Supporting Actor, this is, I guess, a clear and front-runner winner. It's going to be Brad Pitt. Don't let anyone convince you otherwise. He is essentially a co-lead in the movie in a category where the Irishman guys, I think, cancel each other out. Tom Hanks could win, theoretically, for Once a Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, but Tom Hanks, the movie just doesn't have a lot of strength. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is a movie we know that they like. Brad Pitt is playing the ultimate, he's not a transformative actor, he's just cool. He's just a guy who's really well liked, and just sort of that classic movie star performance, and this is a classic sort of movie star role, and he owns it. He hasn't won since 12 Monkeys. He's, really great in essentially sort of a support to Leo, but he is really a lead in itself. So he has the screen time, he has the great moments, and if you're not convinced, watch the end of that movie. It's just a great moment. I think Brad Pitt's got this easily. Now for Best Film Director, I'm actually going to go with Bong Joon-ho for Parasite. Parasite's the movie we know they like, whether it be the screenplay nomination or just people talking HFPA. He's a guy who has been campaigning heavily. Neon's been putting a lot of money behind Parasite. He even showed up on The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon. Martin Scorsese may be sort of an obvious choice because he's won 3 times for the Globes, including years where he didn't win the Oscars. He won for The Departed, he won for Hugo, he won for A Gangsta New York. But, and they do like The Irishman, so maybe that's a smart pick, but I just have this feeling that Bong Joon-ho is going to win because they like Parasite so much. I think Parasite instills more of a passionate vote than something like The Irishman does. Maybe the stats lead a little bit more to Scorsese, but I'm going to go with Bong Joon-ho for the sort of new factor, sort of the cool factor, and the fact that this was so specifically, meticulously created, and especially how the structure of it, the thriller, the setups and the payoffs are so sort of well done and well paced, and you can't think of a better way to do it. I think that has a lot to do with sort of the control that a lot of people consider the director role has. So I think it's going to go with Bong Joon-ho for Parasite. Best Screenplay, another one that could be up in the air. I said that they liked Parasite a lot. Very well could go with Parasite here, but I think their sort of rewards will go with Bong Joon-ho, who's been the face of the movie, and then of course foreign film. So I think the screenplay is going to go to Quentin Tarantino for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. This is a movie, like I said, that they really like. I think it has a higher chance of it winning than someone like Noah Baumbach for Marriage Story. I also think it helps that Quentin was nominated for director, where Noah Baumbach was not. Now, you could interpret that multiple different ways. You could say, well, Baumbach wasn't nominated for director because he's seen as a writer. They're going to give the writing award to him. I see it in a way that Quentin was nominated for director and writing because Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is more well-liked. Oftentimes, the Screenplay Award will go to a Best Film winner, which I think Marriage Story won't be. I think, well, of course, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood would win for the Best Comedy Musical. I think Quentin Tarantino has won before in this category, whether it be something like a Pulp Fiction or Django Unchained. Of course, those are the movies who won the Oscar for Best Screenplay as well. This will really be a boost for his chances. Quentin Tarantino, don't forget, is still known as a writer. He's still known for that great dialogue. It's a movie they like. You know, Best Picture contender at the Oscars. He's nominated here. I just don't want to overthink it. I think it's going to be Quentin Tarantino. He's known for his writing. The set pieces are the writing. There's some funny lines in the movie where Marriage Story doesn't have necessarily. It has some funny moments, but not necessarily funny lines. I think Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is going to be the winner for Best Screenplay here. Then for Best Foreign Film, I mentioned it, but I think it's going to be Parasite because it got nominated for Best Director. If I think it's going to win for Best Director, of course it's going to win here. It also got nominated for Best Screenplay. Don't overthink it. It's going to be Parasite for Best Foreign Film. Then Best Animated Film, I went with Toy Story 4. I was a little bit hesitant for this one because it wasn't as beloved as some of the other Toy Story movies. It felt a little bit unnecessary, but it made $1 billion at the box office. It was well critically acclaimed, and all the other movies don't have a huge amount of support either, whether it be Frozen 2 or Missing Link, which they have been campaigning, but they weren't critically acclaimed the same way Toy Story 4 was, and even Frozen 2 I thought felt maybe a little bit unnecessary. As Toy Story 4 is from Pixar, people love Pixar, people love Toy Story. I'm just ultimately sort of go with sort of less maybe the passion, but more the stats in this case, go a little bit more of a Toy Story 4 win. Then Best for Film Score, I'm going to go with 1917, done by Thomas Newman. This is a movie that I really haven't talked about yet, but it could very well win Best Film Drama. I don't think so because of the lack of acting support, but it's a movie that has broken late and really has resonated with this voting branch. Sam Mendes is a guy that they also really like. And I think Thomas Newman, I think there's a sort of a narrative that will build this year because he's been nominated for 14 Oscars and never won. Now, the distinction would be is that he's actually only been nominated for 3 Globes, so they don't love him as much as the Globes. And they may want to nominate a newcomer like Hildur Guðnadóttir for Joker. And if they love Joker the way I like it, the way I say they do, maybe it's dumb for me not to pick Joker here. But I think for Thomas Newman, there's a little bit of an industry support that this is his year, this is his time, and that 1917 is enough of a well-beloved movie, getting it for Best Director, getting it for Best Film Drama, that they'll maybe want to give it something, and this is sort of an easy way to give Thomas Newman something, but also give the film something. So I'm going to go with Thomas Newman for Best Original Score. And then finally, Best Original Song, I'm going to go with I'm Gonna Love Me Again from Rocketman. I mentioned before that Taron Egerton has been campaigning heavily for Best Lead Actor and really for Best, the movie in general. And the movie did well here, getting in for Taron, getting in for a comedy musical, getting in for Best Original Song. So I think that we know that the movie is well liked versus something like a Frozen 2 or a Lion King where we don't really know how well they like it. Frozen 2 could very much easily win Best Animated Film and Best Original Song, or Toy Story 4 can win Best Animated Film, and they want to give Frozen 2 the best song. I don't really buy that narrative. I think Rocketman is the most well-liked movie in this category. And I think that ultimately they want to see Elton John on the award stage because they love their celebrities. I think it's going to go with I'm Gonna Love Me Again for Rocketman. And those are my predictions. Comment below, let me know your predictions. Let me know if you have any upwards mind, debate, argue. And then come back for the channel for my Golden Globes reactions, and subscribe to the channel really and hit that bell notification so you never miss out on a video. You never miss out on the up-to-date, most latest information and analysis here on Olds Oscar Countdown. But that's about it, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video, and until next time, stay tuned.